Alrighty. We're back. Well, not back. This is my first time properly working with Pink Spike series in a while here, and I'm Halfling, joined by Virci, head of stats, for the season 2 upcoming.
Yeah, that's what I am. I'm the stats keeper.
As keeper, good to hear. Not necessarily someone that really gets called out often, but fun to kind of see little different bits and pieces of how Pink Spike works, and hopefully, kind of throughout this season, I'll have a chance to pick apart everybody and maybe ask a little bit about how the process goes, share a little bit with some of the players, whoever's watching. Hello, if you're watching, thank you for doing that. And if you aren't, I don't know, you're not here, so I can say whatever I want, right? But with that being the case, kind of why picking stats? What's kind of your goal, and why did you pick kind of stats as your way to contribute?
I've always been a big fan of stats. I'm a big spreadsheet enjoyer. I'm a little bit of a freak. But I'm a big spreadsheet enjoyer. I like getting all the raw data and being able to see it visually. And stats has always kind of just been a fun topic for me. I like to see, oh, who's like a best player? Like, why are they the best player? Um, I'm a big stats nerd when it comes to like traditional sports as well. Like I'm a big stats. The biggest one's basketball. I'm a huge basketball stats nerd. I follow Jimmy High Roller. Shout out to y'all if you know him. But he makes a lot of good like basketball content, breaking down like trends and players and why things are happening the way they are and why players are the best player. All that stuff. But he really, it's really in depth stuff, and I enjoy it a lot. I really enjoy that process of getting all the raw data and then like transforming it and really honing in and refining it. So yeah, that's why I chose stats.
That's why you chose stats. And then what
Mhm.
is like that actual process here specifically in Valorant? What do you kind of use? How do you pull apart, and what are you really looking for specifically?
So me personally, the I'm gonna be using Tracker. It gives me all of that data, and it's all in one nice and neat package. It's really convenient. Um, but I am going to process it a little bit. I am going to be forced to. I'm going to have to pull averages for stuff like ACS throughout the Ping Spike series. I'm going to have to do averages for stuff like here on my stats leaderboard thing. I'm going to do averages for basically everything. I'm going to do average ACS throughout the entire tournament, the average KD throughout the entire tournament, the average cast, the average ADR, the average kills per round, average assists per round. Um, in addition, I'm also tracking like individual stats per player. So like how many kills you got, how many deaths you have, how many assists you have,
Mhm.
um, stuff like that. How many rounds are played by this player, by that player. So yeah, and I've set up everything. You're gonna be able to see it once it starts getting filled out. But you'll be able to see it in the spreadsheet if you go through like the individual teams. It's gonna be real nice and simple. All I gotta do is just take it from Tracker, input the numbers, and hopefully, if everything works right, it'll be all nice and neat for everybody to see.
Are you doing all that kind of like number transfer by hand, or is there some sort of software or plugin that you're using?
I don't have an API. It would make my life extremely easy. Don't get me wrong. It really would. I haven't figured that out yet.
Mhm.
Hopefully, if I have some time on my hands, I'll be able to. But it just seems so complicated right now, and especially considering the encroaching start date of Pink Spike, I'd rather just keep it simple for now.
Yeah, continuous improvement project, then something that can
Yeah,
happen later down the line. But
yeah, maybe
then
next season.
since you're entering everything in by hand, I think it's kind of on us, both like me as a production member as well as the players. Like, what can we do as the general public to kind of make your job as easy as possible?
Um, I think part of it's already been done where it's like I have everybody's tracker info. I have everyone's riot IDs. So I can just, as long as the accounts are public, which hopefully they are, that'd probably be the one thing. Yeah. Just please have your tracker information public so I can go into your history and view it. and this is also another thing for production, please don't turn off hide match history. Please keep that off.
Mm-hmm.
Please. Otherwise, I can't go back and get the stats for the game.
What about
But
name
otherwise,
changes? People do it all the
oh, for
time.
name changes. Definitely I would, yeah, just DM me. Because I have names in the system for the leaderboard. I have all the names set. And that's another thing. If you don't like how the name is, if you want the name to be spelled differently or pronounced differently, or another thing I'm doing is on the stats leaderboard, I'm putting like a little flag thing, like VLR does it and all that, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big stats enjoyer. So, but again, if nothing, if anything is like, if you want anything changed or anything like that, please reach out. Um, we're more than willing and able to do it, especially since I have casted before and I am a caster. Like, if you have your name, if you want your name pronounced a certain way, like, it's genuinely no big deal. Like, stuff like that. If you want, like, oh, I want my name capitalized, or can I actually just go by my tag instead of whatever was put in the form by my team captain or anything like that? Like, just feel free to just reach out to me. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't bother me at all.
And then you also mentioned, I asked you specifically in the prod chat a little bit ago, and what spawned this kind of interview here is you mentioned you actually use a formula to calculate weighted average for players, specifically to kind of get that like fun little score that I personally love comparing players with, because even across roll you can kind of use it to compare a rifler versus an opper and how effective they are. Just a quick glance. Yes, I know it's not the end all numbers, don't tell the whole story, but it's a good thing to do. So kind of go into that while I figure out how to bring that message up that you sent on screen.
Yeah, so that is the hardest part, is like the numbers really don't tell everything, and there's always going to be players who don't have the best like VLR ratings you'll see on the stats pages for like tier 2 and tier 1. Like, they'll, like, you won't see their impact unless you watch the games and see, like, because I can't quantify positioning.
Mm-hmm.
I can't quantify stuff like util usage. The closest you can get to it is assist stats and assist tracking, but even stuff like that is not the best, because, like, you know it's heavily skewed for smokes players.
Mm-hmm.
All it takes is, they walk out of a smoke and you get an assist for it. So even still, it doesn't give you the best numbers. But, like, and even still, when you're refining it and, like, really, like, I'm forgetting the word, forgive me.
It's fine.
But when you're processing the stats, like, even like APR and like average and your assist death ratio, like, I know, like, it's not really a tracked stat, but, like, again, like, there's so many ways to like cheese the system and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, especially with ADR, things like saves really throw a wrench into it. So, but to finally get to the whole point of like how VLR ratings and how my rating, like, there are two separate ratings, is the first thing I'd like to mention. Um, it's my first time ever doing this. So if, yeah, throughout the season things are a little bit goofy and the ratings seem a bit like skewed or anything like that, that is going to be end up that's my fault. I have never tried this before. I did some very basic testing with a couple players on, like, okay, was this a good game? How was this a good game? And I tried the whole lobby out and it seemed all right. So you could kind of try and think of it as like a little bit of a beta test, but um, the way here, I'll go with VLR's formula.
Yep,
So the
I've
way
got that up.
VLR does it is they they track kill contribution, your death contribution, average APR, which is assists per round, and they have a. This is the one thing I did steal from VLR, is they do adjusted ADR. So the the way they define their adjusted ADR is that, like, if you got a kill, you have to do damage to get the kill. So, like, it doesn't, it really throws a wrench into it. right? Like it's driven by kills. So a lot of times a player with higher kill count was just going to have a higher ADR. And in that same vein, like it's going to look over a lot of those players who do a lot of damage but don't get the kills. So you think of stuff like Sova or Breach or Teho or like Vice Thorns or yeah, just stuff like that. Raise Nades, like things that do chip damage but don't quite get the full kill. So their solution is here. Let me pull this up on my end. So they take the total damage a player does during the game, they subtract it by the damage per kill, and then they divide it by the total number of rounds. So, and these are all really easy stats to get. Like if you look at your, if you go to your tracker and you go to the performance tab in a specific game, you can just straight up add the total damage you do throughout the game. And so it's really not that hard to come up with on my own. And I get the damage. I have the kill numbers. You know, we have the total rounds. So I was like, you know what? If ELR can do this, and I have the tools, I have the tools with me to be able to do this, I don't see the reason not to. And then one thing that I thought was really interesting was the survival rating. So what they have on their pages, their algorithm checks whether a player actually survived a round and outputs a survival contribution. It depends on stuff like loadouts, is what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on like the guns saving. You know, it tracks like, is the save worth it? Stuff like that. Real nerdy stuff, but it's just they have the tools to be able to do this, and that is my first time actually doing it. And truthfully, I think like those kinds of stats are needed in like the pro scene, since it's a lot more like disciplined and it's stuff like that. And that's no shade to any of the players. Like I'm around the same skill range. Like you just don't see a lot of saving. You don't see a lot of like especially in high numbers, like a 5v3, and you'll see like a defense sided team just they'll save 3 guns into the next round. Like that's just something you'll see. Whereas, you know, in a lower rated team compared to pro play, that is, like anything's possible. There's going to be issues with the way people are trading off each other. There's going to sometimes you'll just miss a shot. Like stuff happens. So that stuff, I personally didn't see a reason to calculate it. But my formula is I'm tracking the KD, I'm tracking APR, I'm doing average damage or the adjusted damage, and then I'm doing KPR. And then I'm tracking this thing called RRS is what I've called it. It's like this whole can of worms. I call it the rank rating statistic. And basically what it is it's like a bit of a modifier to the rating, and it ultimately depends on the duels taken. And so it's like the plus minus of your duels added, and you add the rank relative to the person taking them. So if, let's say I am silver 3, I go -1 against a player who is gold 1. I'm -1, but the player who's gold 1 is +1 higher than me in my rank, right? So they would even out, and my RRS would be 0. So yeah, it punishes. Basically, it's supposed to be, if you're a better player by rank, you should be performing advantageously against a person who's lower ranked.
Mm-hmm.
And I think where it does mess up a little bit is with wide skill gap players. So if there's like a silver 3 player and like an immortal 3 player, like especially if the game ends quickly, which it probably will if there's a silver 3 versus an immortal 3, the immortal 3 player isn't going to get enough kills to offset the like subtraction that has to happen. So it's not perfect, but it is genuinely such a small part of the weighted average that's calculating the rating that it shouldn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing. Sorry to just keep rambling on, but
Go. This is it.
VLR doesn't, at least in their article that they've given, even in both of the articles they've given to the public on their rating formula, they don't give the average, the weights for the average. They give that it is a weighted average, but they don't give the weights. Um, so it forced me to like, I literally had to trial and error. I was like, okay, I'm gonna give each of my 5 statistics like a 0.2 weight, and then I was like, okay, that didn't work. I like skewed it certain ways, and so what I finally ended up on that like seemed to work all right is I've split it up to where KD gets most of the weight. It's at it's 0.35 of the weight, so 35% of the rating ends up being KD driven. But there's ways for players to bring it back with, it's 21% of it is your APR, your assists per round. 21% of it is the adjusted damage per round. 21% is the kills per round, which doesn't help the case, but again, it won't help your case if you frag really poorly, but still. And 2% of it is the rank rating statistic. So truthfully, the rank rating statistic is just to kind of like balance the score. So yeah, like again, if you have a really high rated player playing against another team who has a really low rated player, if that high rated player does end up performing really well, it's not really a surprise to anyone. And the rank rating statistic is supposed to just keep it in line a little bit and just be like, that's kind of what's expected. And so it basically just draws everything towards the middle, which is kind of nice. But overall, I haven't seen any problems with it, so I'm gonna just kind of be rolling with it for now. Um, might end up changing, probably not this season, but if it changes up later on, don't be surprised.
I could see definitely getting thrown a little bit around, specifically pulling just from KD and putting it probably into ADR would be my biggest guess,
Yeah,
coming from CS, where like having low damage per rounds and having good KD doesn't actually give you that good of a rating if you're just cleaning house.
yeah,
Whereas here, I could definitely see if you're someone that's just cleaning ship constantly, it could skew a little bit, but in general, it sounds like the goal for most players is to hit about like a one, like a point in between zero point 0.9 and zero point 0.1 is acceptable, which I feel like is
yeah.
about what these systems do. So I'm happy to see that. Everyone should be very happy to have a system like this and to have a person that's this passionate about stats, because everyone will say they love looking at stats. Like I love looking at stats, but I don't want to make them. I like to
No, yeah.
I like to analyze and kind of like I can dig through the specific stuff. So it's very cool to see that you're doing this. Um, but any like little last minute stuff before we kind of remind everyone what's happening?
um, I definitely would say, especially for stuff like the agent pick rates that I'm planning on tracking, that's probably gonna wait. At least the whole organized page is probably gonna need for me. I'm gonna need like all of the data before I fully organize it, just because like the actual chart I have to do is so huge and massive. Like, there's like it's like 27 agents in the game or some like insane number,
Mm-hmm.
and so like I would much rather have all the data for that before I like organize it by the map count, the agent percentages, all that stuff. But like I assume it won't be too bad since there's only 6 games in the regular season.
Yeah,
So
by the looks of it.
yeah, but other than that, like just be a little patient. It's probably going to take me a minute to calculate all the RRS stats for all the players. It's going to take me a minute to do all that stuff. So probably just waiting a couple days for all the stats to be published would probably be my biggest hope. Um, I'm also just thankful I have a small enough league. Like there's 6 teams in the league. Like
Mm-hmm.
it gives me a chance to do more in-depth statistics, which I appreciate. Um, in addition to that, I don't know, just try your hardest. I want to get some good stats, play some funny comps.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for taking your time, Versi. Thank you anyone who's watching this once again. Last thing, first production coming up is February 9th at 7 p.m. 9 p.m. EST. Jesus Christ, that's pretty late. But
Oh, that's a late one, yeah.
that's a late one. I'll be seeing y'all on the 14th for my first cast with PSS. So with that being the case, thank you everyone for spending your time, and we'll see you around.
Thank you.